Good morning, everyone. I am just setting up the screens and 5 minutes a bit long. I'll just put a 2-minute timer on. Do I have a 2-minute? 2 minutes. There we go. Save. Put a 2-minute timer on at 12 and then just to let everyone jump in the meeting and then we'll kick off. So welcome, everyone. We will be starting soon. Sorry, hold. Okay. Oh, there's an alarm. Beautiful. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, actually, and good morning to those on the other side of Australia. Welcome to Power BI for Government Community of Practice. Pretty exciting, actually. This is our 20th session. So all the other sessions are pre-recorded for you. You can go back and check them out over on YouTube as of this session. But this is our 20th government, Power BI community government. Yeah, scrap. I'll rewind, take that out. All right. Community of Practice, Power BI for Government, Take 20. So welcome along. Good to see you all here. In terms of just a little bit of housekeeping before we do kick off. So this is it's a virtual community event, obviously run by myself, Warren at DataTale. We would love this event to be engaging, so you are more than welcome to ask your questions. So you can drop your questions in chat. If you have a question during one of the presentations and you'd like to verbally ask the question, feel free to raise your hand, and when the time's appropriate, I'll ask you to ask your question. So just to note, camera is on or off. Please be on mute if you're not speaking. But the session will be recorded and will be shared on the YouTube channel, where you can go back and watch all the other 19 sessions that we've had. So please do keep yourself on mute, but cameras on and off, completely up to you. For those of you, if it's your first time, welcome. This is the Power BI for Government Community of Practice. We're all about user stories, so from other government organizations, real-world examples, sharing how they're using Power BI, learning opportunities, so keeping up to date, tips and techniques, and updates. And there's a lot of updates this month and the previous months. So I'll be telling you what's happening in the world of Power BI, which updates are interesting, which ones aren't. But it is obviously an opportunity for you to connect, see what other people are doing in the space, take that back to your own workplace and apply it for yourself. That's the goal of our sessions. For those who haven't met, my name is Warren Dean. I'm founder at DataTale. DataTale is a Power BI training organization and report development. So I've personally trained over 2,000 people in Power BI in the government space. and do a lot of report development, those type of things, and also roll Power BI out across organizations. And obviously, as we all are, dabbling in the AI space and keeping up to date with how that world is changing very quickly. Just a few things in terms of what I've been doing over the last few months. You see there, I've got the Nillenbook annual community survey. So that's a nice open project that I can share and I can show you. But moving away from, a 50-page PDF on your website to having something that looks a little bit better and it's more engaging. Actually, I think I can jump on that and show you. So that's the survey there. It's nearly ready to go. Hopefully at the end of the week, it'll be live on the website. But if you do a similar thing for your organization, these kind of templates are built out and obviously can be tweaked. But we can, move away from using the kind of PDFs or PowerPoints to having something a little bit more engaging for the community. The other thing that I've been up to for the last couple of months is going along to the Civica conferences. For those of you who have Civica as your provider, so if you do use Civica and you use their data warehouse, I've partnered with them to help organizations roll out their templates and get access to all the data in the data warehouse. So if you use Civica, feel free to reach out, but that was a bit of fun as well. And the last thing I'll mention is in the top right, that corner there is playing around vibe coding. If you've been on LinkedIn, you probably, I don't know if it's just my feed, it might be your feed as well. It's like, I developed this and comment and I'll give it to you, or I vibe coded my whole HR platform and now we don't need to use it anymore. I think a lot of them are a bit of a gimmick. They're exaggerating a little bit, but I thought I'd give it a shot. I'd try some vibe coding. And so one thing obviously for me as a Power BI trainer is I would love to give badges on LinkedIn to everyone. But to use a platform like Credly, that costs $8 a user annually. So, as I saw, train 2,000 people, that would cost me a lot of money to do that. So I thought, is that something I could vibe code? And I actually did, although I haven't tested it. So I'm looking to test it. But this is the email that it sends out when you finish the DataTale course. You get a certified badge. You can add it to your LinkedIn profile or download it as a PNG. And actually, go see if it works. If I go and add it, it adds it to my profile. And, I can post about it, which I won't. But let's see if we go down into my credentials. Where are we? Not too far. Oh, there we go. I've done it twice. So this took me 3 hours to vibe code, and it's got a whole, if I can move this down, whole platform here. Oh, okay, I forgot my login. But I can log in, I can revoke access, I can allow people access. So vibe coding, it is a thing. I don't know if it would be an enterprise thing, but personally, I'm able to do that. So really looking forward if I can test this with a few people. So if you've been on one of my courses and you're happy to be a guinea pig and you use LinkedIn and you'd like a badge, either just comment in the chat or send me an email. It'd be great to test this with like 5 or 10 people because it's worked for me, but I'd like to know if it works for you. And then I can do badges for our courses. So that's kind of exciting. But yeah, vibe coding, software not costing anything, is an interesting thing. So that's an interesting space that we're moving into. Another thing that I do have now is Copilot training. As you know, for those of you who have Copilot licenses, you're rolling Copilot out across your organization. If you want, train for Outlook, Teams, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, how to use Copilot efficiently with what you have, do reach out. All right. We have our next meetup. Let me just grab the URL and I will put it in there for you. So this is in May, 19th of May. I will put it in the chat. If I can find the chat, where are we? Oh, we're down here. Sorry, over here. Put in the chat. Yeah, thanks everyone. I can see those comments. Yeah, appreciate your help. We'll see if we can get that to work. I've put in the chat there the link for the next Power BI for Government. So we have our 2 speakers, Dastagia from the ABS. So he's an assistant director for, he's in the location space, so the geospace. But they have a free product, which would be amazing for us to see. But it's where it's called the Service Accessibility Explorer. So you can have a look at different services and local areas in terms of how you're being serviced. So you can do it via distance or by drive time. So he's going to showcase that. And then we have Peter, and he's from the cybersecurity, or the director of cybersecurity at Department of Premier and Cabinet of the WA. And so not only is he going to show us some security dashboards that he's built for Power BI, but he's actually going to give them to us as well. So very generous from Peter. So if you're interested in that space, I mean, we all should be interested in the security space, but he's actually not going to only show us how to do it. He's going to give us those Power BI reports so you can run them in your organization as well. So that's one not to be missed. The URL is in your chat. So please do sign up for the 19th of May. But for today's session, we have Camden Council. Kaveri and Reese are going to talk for employee and customer experience insights. So they're going to walk through a presentation and the Power BI report that they've built in that space. And then we have Jack from the Department of Justice in Queensland. And he's going to talk about fabric management and semantic link labs. And I won't steal the thunder, but moving across and setting some things up in Fabric and showing you how that all works. Before we jump into those two sessions, I'm going to talk about what is new in Power BI. So, quarterly wrap, what's happening in Power BI? So, a few things have gone GA. For those of you who are not familiar, GA generally available. So we have the card visual was GA in, well, that was November 2025, but obviously using those cards that you can have the little elements underneath in here. You can have images or image URLs built in there. So a lot of flexibility in terms of the cards. They keep improving these every month, so that's good to see. We have the modern visual tooltips. So these are now GA. So if you had those old tooltips were just like a black box, now it will give you the option to say, drill down or your drill throughs. They're already pre-built in there. So if you're on January 2026 plus, you should be seeing these new modern visual tooltips, which I think is great because the other ones were terrible. So that's good. The input slicer went GA in February 2026. So, and now it has things like contains all, does not, is any. So people can do text searches across a column or data across the whole page. And they can do multiple. So you could say contains all B's and contains all X's as two separate things to look for. So that's the input slicer. And I'm going to translytical. Hopefully I said that correctly. Task flows. But essentially what they are is it allows you now to write back into Power BI. So always a big user request is how do I write back in Power BI? You can now do that with these task flows. Just a caveat that you do need a Fabric SQL database. It's not going to work with a normal database, but yes, you can allow end users to write some comments, write some text, click submit, and it'll store it in the database for you. So they're the four things that I'm noting in terms of going GA. The other one is not GA, but Azure Maps now has custom markers. And so this is a big one for me. I'm working with a project with Hume City Council, and they want to do a capital works report, but they want icons. And so we were looking at icon map, but if I jump over into my demo, you can now do this natively with Azure. So no licensing involved with this. You can see here that I have icons in here. If you want to see how to do it, head across into my markers. And if I pick one, oh, the URL is in there. I'm not sure why it's disappeared. Oh, there we go. I don't have one. So for 60, I have a URL. So you can, I think they have to be publicly hosted. So I'm just putting them in my GitHub. There are some out-of-the-box ones there, but you can put any SVG in here, and you can have different icons in your map. So that's pretty cool. Custom totals. This is a big one. For any of you in the Power BI space for a while, you would know that one of the memes is the sums don't add up. And that is I suppose it's built on purpose. There's DAX reasons for it. But the question was, why can't an end user just change the way the total is summed. That was never available to us except last month, so I'll show you how that works. So if you see here with my custom, oh, sorry, this is just the normal total. This is a ranks column, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's just taking the min in the total. So if I wanted these all plus together and summed, now I can right-click on the total, customize the total calculation, and then I'm going to change it to a sum. And you can see now it's gone to 15. If you wanted to do that previously, it was a very convoluted DAX formula to get that to work. So this is in preview, but I think this is going to save us a lot of time. When I'm spinning something up, I don't want to write, a massive DAX formula. Custom total calculations, I think, is a big win for the community. Leader lines. So this is helpful, when you don't have a lot of space, you've got a line chart and you want some lines on the end. Jump over into my demo so you can see that one as well. We now have the option for the leader lines. So you obviously make sure you turn off your legend. You don't want your legend and your leader lines because it's the same thing. But you can see here I have the leader lines, which I think is in the markers. Oh, I forgot now where it was. Leader lines, data labels, series labels. Yes, sorry, there it is. So the series labels are on. So that will give you the leader lines with the little lines that come off on the side, which is a cool update. The next one here I'm looking at is the modern visual defaults. Now, you wouldn't have seen this if you went into, unless you went into the settings and the preview and turned it on. But I actually, not a lot of preview things I would turn on, but this one 100% I would turn on. So for any new Power BI report that I create, so not existing ones, any new ones, I'll show you what it's going to look like now. So not in this demo. So this is the new theme that they've built in, and it's still in preview, but this is exactly the theme that I use when I'm building out my Power BI reports. So for example, a light gray background, rounded borders with like a 8-pixel. All of these buttons, which used to look terrible, are now formatted with color. Rounded lines, which I don't agree with. That's not best practice for data viz, but anyway, trying to make things a little bit easier for us to use. And this is only going to evolve over time. We can see now, if I go over here, we're going to have style presets. So you see over the side of style presets, so transparent, icon and text, or whatever. So they're building out more of these as we come. And so no longer, and generally I used to do this every time I build a Power BI report, go on the button, make your one perfect button, then copy and paste it across pages. It's now going to come out as the default. Moving forward, you'll be able to save your own default, which we'll talk about in the next one, which is FabCon. So FabCon, which is, Microsoft's big announcements, has said what is coming. So some interesting things that you can see is input slicer will allow numerics. So that's kind of handy that you could even put a range, so 50 to 52. So at the moment it's just text. Numeric is coming for the input slicer. Shape map, which is also a bit of another running joke in the Power BI world because this thing's been in preview for 4 years, is actually going GA. So you don't have to use Azure. If you just wanted a map that was just shapes, shape map is finally becoming GA. And this one, which I think is a huge win, because I'm sure you've done it before. You've worked in Power BI, you've published, and then realized you weren't on the first page that you wanted everyone to go to first. You can now actually set it as a landing page. So it doesn't matter where you finish when you publish a report. You don't have to then jump back in and redo everything. So, small wins like that, but that's a big one for me because I find that very annoying. A slicer date picker, hooray. So finally, people will be able to, as we expect in the normal world, open up the date and pick a range, right? So that's going to be massive. Very much looking forward to that. Gantt chart, there are some, custom visuals to do that, but none of them are very good. So if you work in the kind of project management space, you are getting a Gantt chart finally. And then the list slicer is a new one as well. Well, it's going GA and getting improved, where it's going to have a drop down and you can pick different things, and then you can also use the contains all or excludes this, for example. So some interesting things happen in the world of Power BI. I feel like we've been neglected for the last year, but it looks like things are finally happening. So exciting times. Well, I don't want to take up too much of the time, so I'm going to hand over to Kaveri and Reese. If you guys want to take over the screen share, and please do take over. Again, if you've got questions for them, drop them in the chat and I'll ask them at the end or appropriate time. If you want to ask them a question, raise your hand. But yeah, welcome guys. Please introduce yourselves and take over the screen share.
Warren.
Thanks so much, Warren.
All right, can we see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Warren, for having us. My name is Kaveri, and I'm a senior data analyst at the Camden Council, working within the Data and Insights team. To give you a bit of context about what Camden Council is, it's a LGA in the southwest of Sydney, and we are one of the fastest growing councils in Australia, having, I think, approximately 100 new residents moving in each week, Reese. Also, the new Western Sydney International Airport that's planned to be, I think, open in October this year is at our doorstep.
Yeah.
So here at Camden Council, the data team works across a range of data sets to design and deliver reporting solutions using Power BI. And today I'll be walking you all through our community experience satisfaction survey dashboard, which was designed to make CX data more accessible across the business. And for any one of you who may not be familiar, a community satisfaction survey is essentially a way to capture a residents' feedback on council services, experiences, and their overall satisfaction with the council. I'll now hand over to Reese, who will walk you through the employee experience survey intro and set the context. Thank you. Over to you, Reese.
Thank you, Kaveri. So, as Kaveri said, my name is Reese Though. Obviously, I work for Camden Council as well. We fall within the digital technology and innovation team here, specifically in data and insights. And we're here to talk to you about employment experience and customer experience. So just touching on to the project overview, I'll kick off with employee experience. So just touching on a quick overview history. So just quickly, what is an EX survey, like employment experience survey, and basically what does it aim to achieve? So it's obviously a survey, but it gives staff a voice, right, by providing a safe and structured way for employees to share their feedback about the culture or the leadership or the well-being of the organisation they work for. It provides evidence as well for action planning by taking the respondents' survey data and measuring it, giving leadership insights into where to fix pain points and whatnot. Essentially, in our instance, making Camden Council a better place to work. But in essence, it's more or less a survey that essentially lets us, how do we get the vibe of the organisation and turn that into hard data so that we can stop guessing and start making evidence-based improvements. The frequency that we do it at Camden Council is every 2 years. So every 2 years, we'll do one of these surveys and we'll crunch through the results. The analysis levels that we do it as well, we do it at an org-wide level, a department level, and a team level as well. The vendor that we work with, I won't name them, but we work alongside an experienced research and analysis vendor that do have other public sector customers as well. They host the survey for us, and they also provide top-level insights, as well as providing us with the raw data to play around with as well. Collaboration Lots and lots and lots of collaboration across different teams and departments. In this instance, lots of collaboration and alignment was required between the leads in our team, being Kaveri and I, as well as our people learning and culture team, who are big in the employee experience area, so PLC team, as well as our external research team as well. There's also further collaboration with senior management and event planners, because there are a few instances here where we need senior management to go over results or champion a particular topic, as well as event planners as well, because they actually hold big events and staff get-togethers on these types of topics as well. And lastly there, just quickly, data storytelling. So our external research and analysis team focuses on the org-wide results and storytelling. But one of our main roles or goals in this project was to take the data and dive deeper into those further insights, which ultimately assists department and team leads. That's just a quick overview of EX. I'll hand it over to Kaveri now, and she can cover the customer experience.
Thank you, Reese. All right, CX. So CX data, it's incredibly valuable, but it's often spread across multiple sources, and it's difficult to interpret quickly. So this project with CX, it was initiated to bring our insights into a more structured format, basically moving away from fragmented analysis towards a more centralized reporting approach. And as Reese already mentioned, we worked with our research partner along with the internal teams to ensure that the analysis and the reporting aligned with the business needs. So all in all, it was a collaborative team effort. See, the key focus was not just presenting data, but structuring the data in a way that tells a clear story. So in terms of what was delivered, Reese, if you can move into the next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so in terms of what was delivered, this project went beyond just a dashboard and focused on enabling broader visibility and use of CX insights. So we conducted organization-wide CX exhibition sessions to showcase the insights and drive awareness and engagement across different teams. The dashboard supports key use cases such as monitoring our satisfaction trends, understanding drivers of experience, and identifying any areas of improvement. Before we jump into the dashboard walkthrough, this demo uses synthetic data for privacy reasons, but the dashboard functionality and the insights, they are the same as real data. And as you can imagine, survey data is quite extensive, and the dashboard includes a number of pages. So for today, I'll just cover a few key ones to highlight how the insights are structured. I'll just share my screen now, Reese. And let me know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. So great. Over here, we have our dashboard. As you can see, I already mentioned we have like 10 pages in the dashboard because there is too much data and there are too many insights to gather from the survey. The purpose of this dashboard is to basically bring resident satisfaction and service experience data together. So this answers our three key questions: how satisfied the residents are overall, what's working well for them versus where we should focus our attention on, and how the experiences differ by different services, channels, community groups. Now, over in the dashboard, all our pages could be filtered by wards. So we have 3 wards in Camden: Central, North, South. Within each of those wards, we have suburbs. And then we can drill it down by gender, age groups, and length of residency as well. It is to support localized insights. Now, by selecting a filter, you will see the metrics. They will reflect the data specific to that selected filter. I can just pick one right now, maybe South, and let's go with Camden here. Now, this is our key insights page. And if you only looked at this one page, this is it. So this page will summarize the most important KPIs for 2025. Now, all metrics here respond to these demographic filters, as I mentioned. So you can basically explore how the results differ across different community segments. Now, if our leadership looks at this one page, this is their headline view. And we capture pretty much all the metrics here, which is satisfaction with the council, the performance of the council, our top 5 quality of life statements, our important services, our satisfaction services, and all of that. Now, if I move on to the next page, which is not technically an insight page, but again, before interpreting any results, it's important to understand who responded to the survey, right? So this helps us frame how broadly, the findings reflect the community. Right. Let's see here. So we have our overall satisfaction page. Now, this is something you can call a health check page, as it shows your overall health of resident sentiment. So in terms of quality of life, in terms of dealings with the council, and in terms of the services received from the council or the performance of the council. And here we can see that the overall satisfaction trend across the financial year, as Reese mentioned, we have surveys every 2 years. So this helps us understand how the customer sentiment is changing over time. Now, all these stats here, they tell us how residents feel. The next page is going to tell us why. Now, this is basically where our dashboard becomes actionable. This is the performance of the council page, and it maps out the council services based on importance. So importance being how important the community considers that service, and satisfaction telling us about how satisfied the residents are with that service. Now, the top left quadrant here, it shows us high importance, low satisfaction areas, meaning that they are the priority improvement areas where residents consider these important services, but they are not really satisfied with that. On our top right quadrant, we have high importance, high satisfaction services, telling us about all the services we need to protect and maintain. Now, for instance, if I select, say, North Ward, and I go into Leppington, right? First of all, it will tell us the overall satisfaction with the performance of the council. It says 93.8%, and it's dropped by 6.2% as compared to the last survey we did. So every insight in one page. And then if we say pick a service here, say recreation services and facilities, it tells us the importance is 95.6%, meaning that 95.6% of the residents who took the survey, this service is extremely important for them, but only 55% are actually satisfied. That tells you your gap analysis, that there is a gap between satisfaction and improvement, and satisfaction and importance, and that's where we can work on. Now, this is one of those pages that actually tells us the importance of segmentation as well. So looking at the data at an overall level is obviously useful, but some of the most, I think, valuable insights, they come from drilling down the data by segments, and this will allow us to identify differences in experiences across different groups. Again, I can walk through a lot of these data sets, but here in summary, the dashboard helps the users quickly see what matters the most to residents and where the performance is going strong and where the targeted improvements will deliver the most impact. Any questions so far? Great. I'll just pass it on to Reese now for the EX dashboard walkthrough. Thanks, guys.
Hey. Dan, were you trying to talk?
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
So there was one question. Is this a one-off survey data is being utilized, or is it a list of data sources from a data warehouse?
It's a one-off survey data, Warren. So as Reese mentioned, we get the data from our research partner, raw data in Excel, and that's what we use the report for.
One more.
I'll just add to Cav Berry's statement as well, but we are putting this data into a data warehouse for ongoing
purposes,
survey responses. Yeah.
Question from Callan. Did you have to standardize satisfaction to adjust for general satisfaction trends?
Yes. So to answer your question, we were actually following the industry standard set by our research partner in doing these calculations. So we did set it up. So for example, the satisfaction question, it has 5 responses from 1 to 5, one being not at all satisfied and 5 being extremely satisfied. So we are just using 4 and 5 to tell us the highly satisfied residents. But again, on the page, I can just share my screen again. And on that page, I did create a elaborate chart showing all the responses. So if we just look at these two charts here, the gauge charts, it just captures our overall satisfaction as in 4 and 5s. And then this is a further drill down of exactly how many people rated 4 or 5 or 3 or 2 or 1. Does that answer your question? Sorry, I can't see my chat. There are too many
Yeah,
screens.
sorry. Yeah, if that doesn't answer, Callan, feel free to jump in or add in the chat. But no, that makes sense. I think some of these questions, but if Reese, if you want to keep going, and then yeah,
Sure,
feel
we
free
can
to
take it
keep
up.
putting your questions in the chat, and then I'll wrap up with them at the end.
Sure,
All
thanks,
right.
Warren.
Sounds good. So yeah, thanks, Cav. So that was on the customer experience side. Now I'm going to talk about the employee experience side. So just on some of the deliverables, in summary, 3 main dashboards or key dashboards were delivered to the business. One being a consolidated, unfiltered results for project leads that were in this EX project. One was a department lead specific dashboard as well, which was tailored to their views. And then we had a team lead specific dashboard as well, with even more filtered down data. The features, so I've put, so that was a dashboard, organization-wide exhibition sessions as well. So we assisted our PLC team and event teams on the EX data and insights for staff-facing exhibition days. And these allowed all staff to view and discuss key results with department and team leads all across the council. So just to paint a picture in your mind about what that is, think about a giant meeting room, seats everywhere, big posters up everywhere with the data and the results and key insights and all that kind of stuff, and all staff. And it's a bit of an expo, so staff can come in, they can talk to leaders, they can look at the posters. They had a bit of a conference as well where they discussed the results, all that kind of stuff, just to help paint in your mind what that is. And leadership engagement is one of the other big things delivered with the employment experience project. So in a nutshell, what that is that once all the data has been crunched, we then hold one-on-one employment experience result presentation sessions with all of the different department leads, directors, and team leaders to go over their specific results, their trends, their insights, because where they go from there is they then go on to action planning. So they take these results and they look at the dashboard, they then go and do their action planning and come back to PLC with, how they're going to tackle these issues or concerns or let's just say feedback that's been brought to light. I'll quickly touch on my dashboard. I'll touch on these features quickly as well. So I've got targeted audiences here. And basically what this means is that tailored one-on-one EX result when I say targeted for audiences, I mean they were purposely built for specific audiences in mind. In this case, it's leadership. And with that, we keep the visualizations and data simple, ensuring they're easy to read and digest. I've got aligned measures here, but Kaveri already touched base on that. In a nutshell, results are generated using the industry standards alongside our external research and insight vendor. So, for example, if you know what it is, ENPS scaling measures, And like Kaveri was talking about, using the top 2s or top 3s across satisfaction, importance, and all that kind of stuff. And then strict security. So because of the data in these dashboards, we do have to make sure that security is in place, so different leaders or different teams can't see areas that they're not supposed to see. And just to achieve this, we just use a combination of Power BI's general workspace access as well as putting RLS in place across dashboards to lock down some of the data with specific users so that they can only see their particular team or department. I will show you in my instance as well, like Kaveri, I'm using dummy data as well, and it's been altered from the real data for privacy reasons. I'll just cover a few tabs and I won't go into too much. Let me swap over. Okay. So yeah, like Kaveri, we've got a bunch of tabs. I'll only cover a few. So I'll start with this tab here. It's just an executive overview tab. You can see that you can select your department. You can select your teams here in the slices. You've got job satisfaction rates. You've got a question that's asked is, rating Camden Council against their previous workplace, as well as questions on recommending Camden Council as a workplace in general. And that, you get your promoters, your detractors, all that kind of stuff. And then over here on the right, we've got our quadrant analysis. Just before I go into that, all of these have got trends data in them. So you can see the 2023 results and the 2025 results for comparisons. But then we come to the quadrant analysis, and similar to Kaveri's dashboard as well, it's split into 4 sections and it changes up, based on what department and whatnot you select. You can also switch between the years as well, and you can see where they've shifted over to those 2 years. So, what's a big one? So change management, that was down here in niche, but come 2025, that has come all the way up here into the maintain. So there's been an increase in importance and an increase in satisfaction, and yeah. Next tab, we've got a data insights view. Again, just keep in mind these are leadership centric, so we don't show too, we keep it, lightweight for leadership. Again, we've got a data insights tab. With this one, you've got the same work sentiment data here on the left, but depending on the department and the different slices you select, so you've got your genders, your role type, indoor, outdoor, age groups, all that kind of stuff. It will highlight the highest rated importance and satisfaction areas, as well as the lowest rated areas. It also has a bit of focus areas for commentary, and commentary is where people have put in that free text responses on satisfaction improvement. And again, this just highlights at a very high level for leadership the key areas that their staff are highlighting. And I'll quickly just touch base on one more. So we've got a gap analysis page here as well. Again, we've got the different slices. We've got a slicer here on the question category. But in essence, this touches base on many of the different questions that were asked as part of the employee experience survey. It grabs the importance and the satisfaction rates from the respondents, and it outlines here the performance gap between the satisfaction and importance rating, so that leadership can really see on this kind of scale where the staff views differ on their importance and satisfaction ratings. It helps them find areas to work on. And what I usually say is if you drag it all the way down the bottom, you can see where its gaps are small, which means importance and satisfaction are aligned, or in some cases where it goes into negative, satisfaction might outweigh importance a little bit. And they're always good things for leaders to take away. And, we're doing these, highlight, these are things we're doing good, or improvements on last year and all that kind of stuff. that's all I'm really going to show about the dashboard, because I don't want to go too far or too deep. So I'll swap back over to the presentation. But if you've got any questions, we can answer them at the end. I think is a good idea. Moving on to the next area, we've got results, impact, and uptake. Now on the EX side, the employment experience side, I've just put 3 points here. So unlocked insights is probably one of the larger results. So one of the big results from our team was being able to achieve the ability to actually take that raw EX data that our vendor only provided insights on at the org level, the organization level, and transform it further, dive deeper into those results and insights for specific departments and teams. But yeah, in essence, organization-wide results, they've now been transformed into more focused results for leaderships at all different levels across the business. Business uptake, there's probably a few points here for business uptake. The first one is, like I was saying, we're hosting those one-on-one EX results sessions, which have been very engaging with all leadership across the organisation. It's been a heck of a job, as well as the dashboard adoption as well that goes with them, for the ability to dive deeper into their insights and assist with their action planning across the council. The other uptake areas are those expo sessions for EX and CX. So CX is also included there. And again, that was for all staff and all leaders to get across the results and ask questions. What else? Results will be used to help drive those goals or focus areas identified like across the organization. And some of the results that come from that is that they'll be used in annual performance reviews, where they are organization-wide feedback or goals. So for example, let's take an example. Let's say some of the feedback was that we could better improve, let's say, our cross-team teamwork across different departments. So what can happen is that can be taken away and put into all of the leaders' annual performance reviews as a goal to work on for the next year to improve that particular area and close that gap. And probably one of the other uptakes is that leaders are still current. So this project isn't actually closed completely yet. Leaders are still currently going through their action planning sessions as well. So organisation-wide department and team action results will heavily be based on the EX data that Kaveri and I have provided, and it will actually drive a lot of these topics forward, which is a great result, like a fantastic result from our team's perspective. And the last one I've got there is time and cost savings. So I just highlight as well that these types of projects, or at least the EX one, does support, I guess, time and cost savings from an employment perspective. So that's stuff like improving staff retention or attracting new talent. But ultimately, it's taking the feedback on board to make, in our instance, Camden Council a highly recommended place to work. So yeah, there's some of the key things from the EX side, and I'll let Kaveri talk about some of the customer experience areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. And sorry, Warren, how are we doing with time? I won't take a lot of time, but just want to be sure.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, all good. If you can, a couple of minutes wrap up and then we'll,
Perfect. Yeah, will do. Thank you. Thank you, Reese. So yeah, for insights for CXC, the results and impact, one of the key outcomes of this report was it reduced the time required to analyze the CX data. And instead of manually rebuilding the reports, stakeholders can actually now access insights in real time, and they can explore the data as they like. So it has also helped us to highlight trends and patterns that may not have been easily visible through our static reports. Now, the challenges with the dashboards, which was a key thing, one of the most important challenge we faced was that how to balance the simplicity of the data with the depth of the data, ensuring that the dashboard is intuitive enough while still offering meaningful detail. I'll just quickly share my screen, Reese, just to showcase the About the Report tab. So in the report, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
In the report
yeah.
itself, we have built this as a self-service tool. And with this About the Report tab in there, it will guide users on navigation and how to interpret the visuals. So all the details are mentioned on this one page, which will help the end users navigate the report easily. Secondly, the second challenge was just ensuring insights could actually drive action. So we focused on making data practical for the decision makers. So, for example, as I showed earlier, one use case could be that a service which is of high importance, low satisfaction, that could be looked at by relevant managers, and they can investigate that why the residents are unhappy. They can identify underlying factors, and they can then implement improvements in that area. Similarly, the counselors can actually use the ward level insights here to identify improvement areas and again implement targeted action plans for that. So the overall focus was not just delivering insights, but on making sure that they are actually meaningful. Yeah, I'll just wrap it up here, Warren, and I'll just pass it on to you, Reese, if you want to wrap up the EX challenges quickly. Thank you.
Not too much, guys. So the last slide we've got here is about some of the challenges. But Cav, I'll get you to jump in first here. Kaveri?
Oh, I just covered the challenges, Reese.
Oh, sorry.
I just did it
should have
quickly.
had this slide up. No,
That's all good. I was sharing my screen anyway.
All right. So yeah, look, on the employment experience side, I've just got 3 points here for some of the challenges we experienced. The first one is on detail versus confidentiality. So while we did have the raw data and we could dive down deep, there was a bit of a risk of diving too deep on the data, making let's say some of the individuals that provided that data identifiable. So we just had to be careful there on how deep we want to dive. For example, there might be smaller teams that could be a bit of a challenge in pulling out some of those insights. Some of the things we did was, if the team was small enough, we would combine the teams and work as combine the results from those teams, or just not drilling down too deep, but still providing those insights. The other point here, navigating difficult conversations. So as I was saying before, we do hold those one-on-one sessions. It can sometimes be challenging if the data shows major trend declines, for example. And it does come across a bit negative, but these are generally managed by offering assistance and guidance for different leads across the different areas, as well as action planning packs where our PLC teams have actually provided a lot of great support around that area. And we've got managing the scope of control. So what this kind of refers to is sometimes the results raised can be outside of a leader's control, depending on what level the leader's at. And it can lead to some frustrations on their side because they can see the issue, but they can't do a lot about it. Topics, it could be example topic might be the areas like fair pay or cross-department teamwork and stuff like that. They've only got a small amount of control, or none at all in some cases. This is, again, generally managed with our PLC teams, where they equip the leaders to process and action these areas outside of their control by providing them information to work with and share, as well as dealing in these result areas as well. And that is pretty much it. So to kind of just wrap up our project or presentation here, taking a project of this scale from raw data to a council-wide rollout, it has been a massive collaborative effort. But look, our team's job isn't just to build the dashboards and provide those insights. It's also we also make sure that the users feel confident in using what we provide, that they understand the data, and in these cases, it'll steer leaders and teams in the right direction, resulting in making Camden Council's staff and our community an even better place to work and live. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to listen to Kaveri and I on one of our journeys. And do feel free to shoot across any further questions if you have any. So thank you very much.
Thank you. No, it's definitely a lot of effort in terms of that, and I'm sure there's lots of questions. So if you could maybe just drop your questions in the chat, and they can answer the questions in the chat, and I might hand over to Jack. So Jack, if you'd like to take over the screen.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
We do. There we go. Cool. So I'm with Department of Justice. My name is Jack McCormick. I look after most of our Fabric estate and our emerging Databricks environment as well. And this will be a quick presentation on how we're looking to automate the management of access to Fabric environments, so workspace, connectors, and actual assets with Semantic Link Labs. So I won't give a full at-length introduction to Semantic Link Labs. Essentially, it's a Python wrapper for the Fabric APIs. So if you've ever used the APIs to deploy assets or to manage your environment or update configuration, you can do it now within a Fabric Python notebook or a PySpark notebook. And the billing for that comes out of your CU budget, the same way that your data flows or your semantic models come out. So there's no additional overheads. You don't have to manage the Spark clusters. You're not deploying, Synapse resources under the hood. That's all managed for you as part of your base Fabric capacity. And we used ours in the first instance to migrate our P1 Fabric capacity to an F64. These provide a really easy interface for working with data and with these APIs, rather than having to shape up a web query and make sure you've got your headers and your authentication correctly. It flows through as the executing user, be it yourself or a service principal, and returns a nice, pretty rectangular data set. So the first example I'll go through really quickly, probably one that you're most interested in, is if you're coming up to the end of a P1 Fabric Power BI Premium capacity, you're going to have to shift to Fabric over the next year. That's being sunsetted. And Microsoft provides you can do it through the GUID. There's a whole bunch of PowerShell scripts, but they also provide some existing notebooks that you can use to migrate your content. So this is what you're seeing on screen is a modified version of that notebook that Microsoft made available, and we've just tweaked it slightly to do it more step-by-step to make it easier to read. So we had, I think it was about 7,000 items to migrate across 60 workspaces. The backup, in case anything went wrong, took about 3 or 4 hours. The actual migration took 5 minutes. So it was incredibly, incredibly quick and extremely painless, much better than clicking through the menus. One of the areas that we're now looking to leverage this is in permission management. So for our target state at Justice, we want to have your workspaces and your connectors secured by intra ID groups. So it's all part of our integrated access management tool. It's all centrally logged. And one of the problems we have is normally we give out member rights over contributor. However, members can add and remove people from workspaces, which is something we want to avoid because we want to make sure you're using those intra groups. And that way, if we sync them up to connectors, to task management tools like Jira or DevOps, or we use them to provide access to data sets such as Databricks or storage containers, we want to add you to one place rather than managing permissions across lots of different environments. So there's no technical control we can use to turn off the ability of members to add other people. So what we're doing is we're remediating it through some scripting. The cool thing about Semantic Link Labs is while you need a Fabric capacity to run the notebook, you can manage stuff that's not on Fabric. So if you've got E5 licenses or Power BI Pro licenses and you're using shared capacities, you can have this very small F2 or F4 SKU that just runs these scripts in the background and it manages the entire estate. Quick summary of our goals. I don't want to have to do this manually. We want it to go through our approval processes and our logging. We want it to be native to our Microsoft ecosystem. I don't want to have some local machine running PowerShell or Python scripts locally. And we want to be as close to infrastructure as code as we can. At a high level, we want to load in what we want it to be, what it is currently, figure out what those differences are, and go through and remediate those differences. What you're seeing here was the pilot. This works and is a viable tool for you if you're not using private endpoints to secure your data, and if you have user-assigned administrative roles. So while I can activate Fabric Administrator, ideally it's tied to a service principal, and that can run automatically at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I don't have to log in and press any buttons. So this is a viable pattern using a lakehouse to live connect into your container. But in practice for us, it looks a bit more like this. So we have key vaults to store all of our credentials for those service principals. We have another service principal that can run the higher permission admin APIs, and that's accessed only as needed. And the data is also behind a managed private endpoint as well. Cool thing about Semantic Link Labs, you can deploy those private endpoints with Fabric notebooks. So now I can go on holiday, the script can run itself automatically, and it will truck on through. The actual code is very, very slim. I'll pull it up in a second. This is mostly cheating because I've put all of the functions into another notebook that handles all of the busy work in the background. But in short, load in what we want to have for each workspace, separate, find out what the differences are, separate groups and users because they need to be handled slightly differently, go do the changes and write down the logs of what we've modified. So what I'll do now is I'll bring up the demo. I'm currently working through with our cybersecurity team to make sure that I've scrubbed all of the justice-specific IDs and references out. But this is organization agnostic. There's no reason you couldn't run this in an organization of 100, 1,000, or 20 people. So within the week I'm aiming for, I'll commit to next week, there'll be a repository on GitHub which will have all of these notebooks, as well as an installer script which will go through and grab them and deploy them into your environment as well. So what we see here, as long as my session is still live, is I've run the primary notebook in the background. This is all of the advanced functions, defines all of the logic, goes and grabs the data from the storage container. And I've just buffered that up so we don't have to sit and wait. And what I'll do now is I'll loop through these 10 test workspaces I have here. So there's a few: add a user, change a user, add a group, remove a group. And what we should see after this has run is it should loop through all of those workspaces, identify if there's any changes that need to happen, and go and execute those for us. So we can see here that it's starting to loop through, and it's providing some diagnostic logs in the background. And then we'll queue up the exit as well. So that's proceeding along. I'll just take out the session alive. So if the demo gods are kind to me, we should see that these workspaces continue. And still running. Let's check this workspace. So we should see that a user has been added to the environment if it's got up to this one. Manage access, and we can see that my account's been added directly. Likewise, we should have some other ones in our test sandpit, and there should be no one in the remove user section. So that's Semantic Link Labs for admin management. Again, aiming to have this available as a module that you can run and just have it install itself and set up in your environment. This is the primary installer code. It'll be up on GitHub, and then I'll populate this notebooks file with more of the rest of the library. So there's some parts in here you'll have to put in if you're using private networking, just some IDs. There's some manual setup down the bottom that you'll have to do around environments and variables. And then this big, long, complicated snippet will just loop through and grab all of those notebooks and install them into a workspace for you. So that's me. That should be us all finished.
Awesome.
So,
Thanks, Jack.
any questions?
Yeah, so very generous of you to share that. And look, that's what the community is about, being able to share these things and collaborate. So yeah, I'll send the email out, Jack. So yeah, just let me know when you're ready, and I can send your GitHub link out to everybody. Were there any, I'll check through the chat, but feel free to put them in the chat, or if you have any questions. There was, I did see one. Okay, so from Eden, for the move to use Fabric rather than on-prem, was it a long process to kind of moving to cloud and in terms of the security side of things?
So for Justice, we're shifting to cloud in general. There are still some legacy systems that are on-prem, and we're using, say, Azure Data Factory to ingest those to our cloud resources where there's a big uplift or transformation, or to build them into an operational data store. So there's very little, we're not using, say, Power BI report server on-prem. We were very lucky to have kind of a greenfield start with our Power BI in the cloud, along with Azure Foundations and the rest of it. So there is a holistic shift based on the QGIA, which is the Queensland Government Enterprise Architecture from memory, push to those cloud resources for a geo-redundant backup failure scenario, remote access, and integrated access management. We should only have to manage our intra. We don't want to have to manage, on-prem AD syncs and bidirect. It gets very complicated very quickly.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So yeah, sorry, I said there's a few more in terms of that, but what we might do, and this is the point, we might connect you guys. So obviously Jack's provided his LinkedIn details and things like that, so I can put that. So I will have a wrap-up email providing all the things that have been provided today. But no, that's fascinating. I think that's very helpful for someone who hasn't quite crossed that bridge yet, that you will eventually have to cross. So thanks Jack for sharing. So I might just wrap up. So yeah, if you got any other questions, put them in the chat. This chat will stay active for a while after I close the meeting. But in terms of this session is recorded, I will put it up on YouTube this evening. So again, yeah, for those who want credentials in LinkedIn, you've done one of my courses, reach out. I'll send up a summary email. Jack will send me the details and I can send that through. I think that's it. It was a very jam-packed session. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kaveri, Reese, Jack. Really appreciate your presentations and sharing with the community. Feel free to connect with each other outside via LinkedIn. We do have a Power BI for Government LinkedIn group, so I can put some things in there as well if it's easier than emails. So feel free to join that group. I'll put it in the sum up email as well. But thank you everyone for attending. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you in May or sometime online. So thanks everyone. See you next time.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See ya.